Welcome back to Your Sunday Setup. I'm Whitney. Last week, we talked about consistency, the foundation for real change. But consistency has a starting point, and that's where many people get stuck. Not because they don't care, and it's not because they're lazy, but because they're waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting to have a perfect plan. So today, we're talking about the discipline of starting. Because the truth is, most people don't struggle with consistency as much as they do with getting started. But before we begin, let's center. Take a slow breath in and release it. Let your shoulders soften. You can silently repeat, I don't need to feel ready. I can begin where I am. Starting creates clarity. One more breath in. Breathe it out fully. And gently return. Now, imagine standing at the edge of a foggy path. You can't see the whole road. You can't see where it leads. You can barely see a few steps ahead. Most people stand there, waiting for the fog to clear and waiting to see the entire path. But the path doesn't reveal itself that way. It reveals itself as you walk. One step forward, and the next step becomes visible. Clarity doesn't come before movement, it comes because of it. We've been conditioned to believe, I need to figure this out first. But in reality, you figure it out by doing. And this is where the concept ready, fire, aim, popularized by Jack Canfield in the Success Principles, becomes so very, very powerful. Most people usually operate like this. Ready, aim, 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 and they never fire. Ready, fire, aim flips that. You take action first, then you adjust, you refine, you improve. Starting is not about getting it right, it's about getting into motion. And when you do that, something shifts. The anxiety decreases, the confusion clears, and the work becomes real. Here are 3 strategies for starting. First, lower the point of entry. You don't need a perfect beginning. You just need an accessible one. So instead of feeling a need for a full plan, try, what's the smallest first step I can take? Then, open the document. You can send the draft, make the call. Small starts create momentum. Second, give yourself permission to be a beginner. Beginner's mind isn't theoretical for me. It's pretty personal, and I have done this over and over again. But one example, I had been working as a lawyer and lobbyist for probably about a decade at this point. And on paper, everything looked solid. But internally, I wasn't fulfilled, especially in my role and the environment I was navigating. So I did something small. I enrolled in a few community college courses on management and leadership. Not because I had a master plan. In fact, I had no plan at all. And it wasn't because I knew where it would lead. I was simply curious. I had questions about why things worked the way they did, and I was willing to start from a place of not knowing. And what I realized was that those small steps would lead to something bigger. Those classes eventually led me back to school to earn a master's degree in organizational development and leadership, which then led me to leave my work as a lawyer and lobbyist and to step into the world I'm in now of coaching and consulting. And even that didn't stop there. That same willingness to begin again, to stay open, to stay curious, led me to expand the meditation and journaling practice I personally use and have used for the better part of the last 30 plus years to share and support my clients with those same tools to assist in their growth. None of that came about from having a perfect plan, or in my case, a plan at all. It came from being willing to start without knowing exactly where it would lead. And that's beginner's mind. And then third, start before you feel ready. Readiness is often an illusion. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a byproduct. The people who move forward are not the ones who necessarily feel ready. They're the ones who start anyway. Here's an example from outside of me. Let's say it's Monday. You have something important to do. Maybe it's a proposal, a conversation that needs to be had, or a decision that you need to make. And when you look at your old pattern, maybe it's your current pattern, you wait. You organize, you think, you delay. And I recognize that pattern because that's the pattern I had. But your new pattern, you start. You write the first paragraph. You initiate the conversation. And you take that first visible step. And once you begin, you realize it wasn't as overwhelming as it felt. That's how momentum begins. Next week, we are going to take this even further because starting is powerful. But finishing is what builds trust. In episode 83, we'll explore why so many people leave things incomplete and how learning to follow through strengthens your confidence, your credibility, and your sense of self. Starting is simple, but I'll admit it's not always easy because it requires letting go of certainty, perfection, and readiness. But once you begin, everything changes. And if you're ready to build momentum in your life and work week, this is where it starts. This moment, this decision. And if you want a daily practice to help you get into motion, the Mindful 5 offers simple, structured ways to reset and take intentional action. You can learn more at themindful5.com. Don't wait for the fog to clear. Take that first step. And until next time, take care.